This is my 2018 Polaris Razor XP Turbo, and I'm just going to go over a custom snorkel kit that I made here for it. You can buy the ones on the internet off of eBay and stuff and other websites, but they're really expensive. They're about $400. Some of them are a little bit cheaper, some of them are more, but I couldn't see spending $400 for basically all they give you is some PVC piping, pretty much is what I used, and that's pretty much all the kits mostly are. Some of them are a little bit different, but this whole install that I did with everything that I bought cost me about $120 or so for everything, including all the pipe, the glue, and everything that I needed to do it. So what I did, most of them just have the intake and exhaust for the belt over here, and then they'll just have one over here for the air intake. Well, I wanted to make it match and have two on each side, so I got a Y connector. This is all 3-inch piping both sides. Got a Y connector, and then I routed it up there with the 45s, 45, 45, 90, and then a 45, and then I cut a little tip and painted that, and then I have metal mesh screens in there just to keep any big chunks of dirt or rocks or birds or mice or anything from trying to get up inside of there. And it turned out pretty good. And then I made a bracket for each side. Just took a piece of exhaust tubing, so it had the contour of this pipe, put that against there, and then welded this bracket here to it, and then I welded another bracket to where it bolts to where the shoulder strap harnesses would go if you have those, and did that on both sides. So this thing's really sturdy, so hopefully it won't vibrate and crack the glue joints apart or anything. And to do this, I used 18 45 degree joints and 7 90 degree joints, and then I used one complete stick of 3-inch pipe. I think whatever it comes in, 8 or 10 foot length, whatever the standard length is, and then the one Y connector, and then I used one 3-inch rubber hose connector, because on the other side, I'll show you here where I had to cut it so you can put it together. But once I got it all laid out the way I wanted it, I just took a magic marker and marked each joint, and then took it apart, and then glued it all together. And then wherever it had the writing on it, there was writing on each side and stickers and stuff, I took sander and grinder and ground that all down and sanded it down nice and smooth to make it look nice. And then I took some Rust-Oleum truck bed spray liner you just get in the rattle can, and sprayed those, and then I cut these and then stuck them in there afterwards. They're 4 inches long on the long side, and I think 1.5 inches or so on the short side, and then they taper down from 4 to 1.5 inches there, and I think it turned out pretty good. You can see they match really nice. And on this side, I'll show underneath here how I have it connected. I still have the stock air intake hose, and it's still up in there like the factory one is. And then you won't be able to see it, but this pipe just fits down in there, and then I put a hose clamp around it to hold that in place and keep water out of it. And on this side, did the same thing. got both of these parts here are identical to over there, and then just have a straight piece going down, and then this 45 going down here to the air intake goes to the stock one here. I have the cover off because I'm wanted to check that to see how much water was getting in there and stuff. These screens where the air goes in for the air intake and the belt intake, I was finding that I'm getting a lot of water and stuff that's going down inside of there. And I mean, I don't really ride that much like in ponds or anything like that, but just you hit some, you know, 1 foot 6 inch deep water puddles, and you got water and mud splashing up. It's getting down inside of here and then getting into your belt intake and your air intake. I was riding the other weekend and got back and decided that I wanted to do this, and I took my air box intake off, and you can just see all of the mud and stuff that was coming, muddy water that was coming in there, and it was just blowing straight against the air filter there. You could see where the end of it was just covered in mud and it was splattered there. So definitely not good. You know, like I said, this, you know, I didn't even really ride through any kind of you know, really mud situations, just mud puddles on trails and stuff that's splashing up and just getting sucked in to these screens. So I thought I'd try and save the water from going into the engine and hurting that, and water going into the belt system and screwing the belt up over time, and mud. Plus on these exhaust, the belt exhaust is right here, and it just ends right here. There's nothing, no other piping going anywhere. It just ends right there. So if you're splashing in water and mud and stuff, you know, it's just going right in your belt intake there. It can. I don't know how much it actually does, because there was some evidence of muddy, dirty water in there, but if I went through a deep spot or something and I pulled the plug out on the side of the belt housing that's down here, no water would come out. So I assume that it wasn't that bad going in there, but who really knows. But so I just took for the belt exhaust, I just took a 45 and a hose clamp and clamped it on there. Then I have a straight piece to a 90, to another 90, then a 45, and then a straight piece, and then I had to cut this here and put this rubber hose adapter so I can put it together in two pieces, because there's no way to get it in there as one whole piece. So you have that straight piece and the 45 and 90 going up to the straight piece, and then connecting to all that. So definitely, if you have patience and have you know, are willing to take the time to do this yourself, you can save yourself a lot of money and make something that looks just as good, if not better, than what you can buy off of eBay and all these people that make this kind of stuff. Like I said, most of them that I saw was just the intake and exhaust for the belt on this side, 2 pipes, and then 1 pipe over there for the intake. And I thought it would look a lot better to have it symmetrical with 2 pipes on each side. So that's how I laid it out, and it turned out pretty good, I think. And I angled the tubes over a little bit to try and keep mud from shooting up and going inside of there. And some people just have the 90 degree, and that's why I kind of had it come down here. So just try and keep extra stuff from splashing in there, because when you're going through mud puddles and stuff and you get on the gas, I mean, this thing really throws up the dirt. So hopefully this helps. I'll have to get it back out on the trails and go through some mud puddles and stuff and see how it does. And yeah, I want to see about sealing up the belt cover there, if there's any better way. I've seen some people use silicone. I don't know if I want to do that or not. And some people recommend using a heavy grease to help seal that. And I'm not sure about the air intake box, if that seals real well or not, because like I said, there was water coming in there. You could see where it was muddy in the bottom of it there, but I think it was all coming through these screens right here from being splashed up in there, the way it was just shot at the end of that filter. And then so there's the air intakes for the belt and the engine, and then you have a couple your axle breathers and your vent line for your gas line. Your stock gas line vent comes over here up, and then there's a little place right here in this tubing where it attaches to a plastic fitting that's just pushed right in here to this tubing. And what I did with this one, at first I routed it, and I took and drilled a hole right here in the roll bar and shoved it up inside of the roll bar to about right here. But then I saw that when I had to do the one for the rear axle, it came over and stopped right here. So I took a piece of aluminum small tubing that I had and coupled that together to a new piece of hose and routed that over and up through this little hole that's there. Just had to drill it bigger, and then I routed that into this hole because it was on this side. And then the gas line vent, it comes out over on this side right over here and then runs over. So I took that out and then put it over here and routed it up, zip tied it there, and routed it up to the hole that's over here. Just had to drill that out, and then I drilled a hole in the roll bar right here and then ran it up there. And you don't have to add any line to that, because once you move it over to this side, you have enough room, enough hose to stick it up there, and it works out great. And then for the front differential vent, it runs from the factory, runs underneath of this pipe here, and just is sitting under there. So took that out and routed it along this pipe and over. And then there was a little notch in the plastic right here, so I just drilled a hole in the roll bar right here and ran it up into there. I got that idea from some YouTube videos I watched of people doing snorkel kits and doing this, and seems like that's a pretty good idea, running it inside the roll bar. And then this one here has some holes already drilled in it. Right there's one, but I didn't see any in this back roll bar, so I drilled a small hole right here and a small hole on that side, just to give it some venting capability, because I don't think there's any other way for air to get into this back roll bar here. So I drilled those small holes in there so it can get some air for the vents for the gas and the rear axle. And that all worked out pretty well. I don't think there's any other vents I'll have to look up. I think the engine crankcase vent goes into the charge pipe. From what it looked like, it went into the charge pipe over here of the intake. And I don't think there's any other ones, but I'll have to see if I can find anything else on the internet, if there's any other vent lines that I need to route anywhere. But that's my snorkel kit. I think it turned out really well. I'm pretty happy with it, and how it turned out symmetrical, and have the dual tips on each side. Makes it look nice, I think. So hopefully that'll solve my water problems getting into the belt and the intake, because I noticed when I would run it, if I would run it through a deeper water hole or something like that, if I was in there for any period of time, this thing would start to cut power. So I don't know if water was getting into the intake and there was a sensor that was sensing some water particles in the air and was cutting power, or if it was getting into the belt and slipping the belt and the clutches, and if that's why it was cutting power. Because one time I went to, a couple weeks ago or a month ago or so, I was down at Hatfield and McCoy's and went through this water puddle that was a lot deeper than I thought it would be, and got stuck, and I was in water pretty much like right about up to here or so, and it was leaning over to this side, and I was stuck there for a little while. I was hitting the gas trying to go, and it cut the power, and then the wheel stopped spinning, and then I couldn't even rev it up at all. So like I said, I don't know if water was getting into the belt and that's what did it, or what the deal is with that. But hopefully this solves my problem. And I actually ordered one of those belt blowers, and it looks like it gets installed. You cut this and install it here, and then it just plugs right into your tail light plug right there, plug and play. Not too difficult, I don't think, because with running these snorkels, I was afraid that it might not get enough airflow, and it's a little bit more restrictive on the exhaust for the belt, that it might be harder to shoot the air out of that. So I got one of those blowers. It should be here this week sometime. I want to put that in, so try and help that. As I understand, the belt is the biggest thing of this. The way they are, if you get them hot, you can really screw up a lot of stuff, and they're pretty expensive to replace the clutches, and I think even the belt itself is over $100 or something like that, I think. So try and do some maintenance and preventative maintenance things to try and fix some things and make everything live a longer life. But that's how I did my snorkel kit. You can hopefully maybe copy this if you want to. That's why I gave all the number of pieces that I use and everything. Like I said, it only cost me about $120 or so in materials, and that's pipes and glue and everything. So definitely took a lot of time though, depending on how clean you want to make it and what you want to do. Like I said, I took and sanded all the numbers and writing and everything off of there. So if you don't care about that, probably wouldn't take you as long. Or if you didn't care about painting it and stuff like that, it took me probably at least a day and a half to do this, if not 2 days probably, working a couple hours here and there. Actually, it took most of the day yesterday. I worked on it, and some of another day, and then a little bit here today. I ran some lines, so at least a full day to do this, get it all laid out and everything. So that's how I did mine. So hopefully it saves you some time. You can see what you need and how I routed things to try and save you some time on guessing how to do it and trying to figure things out. So yeah, it worked out pretty good. And then if you don't have a welder, you can probably make something else. Maybe just run a zip tie here and a zip tie over to this roll bar or something like that, possibly, if you don't have a welder, or to make any kind of brackets. Or you could actually probably if you didn't have a welder, you could bend this back and bolt this bar on each side, bolt this bar to there, and then bolt everything together. So there's plenty of ways that you can figure something like this out and do it yourself and save some money. Just take some time. So Again, there's what it looks like from the back side. So thanks for watching.